right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really, truly appreciate it. I cannot say enough how excited I am about this new opportunity for our students. And so I don't want to take up a lot of time. I really just want to jump right in. So I'm going to share my screen here. And just start going over some of our meeting norms. So one of our first norms is to report to the meeting on time. So thank you to everybody who was here on time today. I've asked all the students to come prepared with informational interview questions. If you don't have those with you, it's okay. I will ask, as you're listening in from our mentors today, that you write down any questions that you have, anything that you want to know about the internship, about their organization, about them and their pathway into their career. This is your time to really ask those questions. I'll ask also that you place yourself on mute unless you are speaking, and then turn on your camera whenever it's possible. I know that's hard to do. It doesn't always feel comfortable, but this is a safe space. And so I do encourage you to turn on your camera. Especially if you are asking questions. Turn that camera on, let's see your faces. Be present and in the moment. So I'm gonna ask that you avoid using any personal devices like your cell phone, watching TV, on a tablet, anything like that. We wanna be present for this next 54 minutes together and make sure we make the most out of our time. So can we all agree to those norms? Nod yes, thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Perfect, thank you, perfect. All right, so what does our agenda look like? We've already gone over our norms, and then we're going to move into student introduction. So in the moment, I'll let everyone introduce themselves. We can know who's in the space today. I'll ask you to give a little bit of your background. You'll get to meet your mentors and write down those questions. Like I said, learn about what they do, learn about what this internship will be all about. We'll move on to the informational interview phase. And then lastly, our next steps. What do I as a student need to do to apply? So let's move right into introductions. I'm going to stop sharing. And you can just tell us your name. You can tell us your school. And I also ask that you share your interest. So your name, your school, and your interest. And I'll go first since I didn't say my name, and then I'll pass it on to someone else. So my name is Tia Hall. I am the Director of Real World Learning at Vaux Big Picture High School. This is my second year at Vaux. I'm interested in a lot of things, but most of all, supporting and serving youth. That's my #1 interest, and anything that I would ever do, I would always be doing that. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to my girl, Giante.
Good afternoon. I'm on my way to work, so I didn't want my background to be distracting. So I have my camera on. But my name is Giante. I'm a senior at Vaux. I've been going to Vaux since 9th grade. My interests are criminal justice and healthcare. So I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Can you pass it on to somebody to go next?
I'll pass it on to Jordan. I don't see no students in here. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordan King. I'm the Director of Juvenile Diversion Programs at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. It's a pleasure to meet you all and to work with you throughout this program. My interests are music and food. And I will pass it to Sarah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Shaw, and I am the Senior Program Manager of Project Go, also in the District Attorney's Office inside the Juvenile Unit. And since Project Go doesn't really tell you what I do as like a title, it's a truancy support program. So we work with several schools around the city to provide support to students and families who are missing school. My interests are dancing and watching Netflix.
You want to pick someone, Sarah?
Right. Okay. I pass the mic to Morgan.
Hey, good morning or afternoon. Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm Morgan Wilson. I am a ADA over in the juvenile unit for the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. I'm in the office, so that's why I have a mask on. And my interests are music and cooking. And I'm gonna pass it to, I think it's pronounced Francesca. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Francesca Lobato, and I'm with the Big Picture Philadelphia nonprofit that helps support the Vox and El Centro schools, and I'm the communications and grant specialist. And so I'm here because I'm just really excited to learn more about the learning through internship cohorts. And my interests are storytelling and narrative, and I love figuring out how to, whether it's like writing a fiction piece and telling a story that compels an emotion, to using narrative strategy to move power holders to take action. That's a big interest of mine. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it to Christina Bradley.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Bradley. I am the Director of Youth Services and Young Adult Initiatives at the District Attorney's Office in the Juvenile Unit. My interests are art, creativity, baking, and that's about it. And I pass the mic to Faith.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Faith Harris. I am the program manager for juvenile diversion at the Philadelphia DA's office. So I work alongside the other wonderful people that have already introduced themselves. And my job essentially is to assist with cases that are being diverted out of the system. And my interests align with criminal justice and a lot of the other activities and things that I'm involved in, but something I love to just make sure I do all the time is to travel. I just need to do more of it. COVID has shut that down. I can't wait to get back out and do some traveling. I will pass the introduction over to Nina.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nina, and I am the Director of Real World Learning at El Centro High School. I have to say that my main interest is it coincides with the field that I work in. I love working with youth and supporting youth. And also I enjoy art, music, movement, all kinds of different things. And I will pass the mic to iPhone.
Hi, I'm at work right now, so I really can't show my face, but my name is Perla Melendez, and my interest is, I picked my interest for district attorney, so this is like my main focus right now. And what was the other question?
You got it. You could just pick somebody else to go next.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Amy.
Sorry, I'm driving, so I don't have my camera on. I'm on my way home from Vox, actually. So I wanted to pop in because I have a couple students who were interested in attending today, but were unable to. So I told them I would see if it was something that I thought they might be interested in. And my interests are education and I guess running, anything that has to do with sports. That's it. I think there's no one left to pass it to, is there? Or Shakia. I can pass it to Shakia.
Hi, my name is Shakia. I'm from Vox Big Picture High School, and my interest is dancing.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I think we had everybody introduce themselves. I know that there was a challenge with the sign-in sheet. I'm going to give permission for that shortly. While I'm going to stop talking in a minute anyway, and turn it over to our wonderful mentors who are on the call this evening. So I'll make sure you're able to sign. Just watch the chat and be able to sign in so I can capture your name. and share that with your advisors. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over, and I'll just be here quietly taking notes and finding out more about this internship myself.
Great. Thank you so much, Tia. What we wanted to do, actually, we thought there would be a little more kids, but we wanted to start it off with like an icebreaker. And our icebreaker is just a word association game, just kind of to get you guys thinking and see what you're thinking about or what comes to mind. So what I will do is I will just say a word, and at any moment, anyone can chime in and let me know what that word makes you think of. So the first word that we'll start out with is community.
El Centro.
Leadership.
That makes me think about family.
People helping each other.
Neighborhoods.
People taking care of one another.
Great, awesome. And not to take up too much more time, the second word that we're gonna have is justice.
Equal rights.
Can someone repeat that? What was that statement?
I heard equal rights.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else?
Equal protection.
Restoration.
I agree. Restorative practice.
I say growth. We have a lot of growing to do.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for your participation. And last but certainly not least, the word that we will have is leadership.
Maybe like courage.
Empowerment.
Responsibility.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for your participation. I am going to turn it over to Miss Tina, who I believe has some questions for you guys.
Yes, these questions are directed specifically to the students who are online. The first question is, why are you interested in this particular cohort in terms of careers in the criminal justice field? Shakia?
Excuse me, what you say again?
The question is, why are you interested in this particular cohort in terms of careers in the criminal justice field?
I don't know.
Well, Shakia, I want you to think about that question, and I'm going to pick on Giante, because Giante and I just had a conversation earlier about why I thought she should jump on the call today.
I'm sorry, my background was wrong. So I can find a quiet spot. Answer the question.
The question
Y'all
is
can hear me?
about why did
I
you
know the
pick?
question. Y'all can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, my background was loud.
I'm going to type the
I
question in the chat for y'all too.
just feel as though there's a lot of work to be done in the system, and a lot of people claim that the system is broken, but it was never fixed to be for Black people. So I feel like we need more people empowered to just try to make it better than what it is, because it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And history is repeating itself literally every day. And nobody is getting justice for anything that's going on. I mean, today, Breonna Taylor murders were acquitted 65, not acquitted after 65 years after Emmett Till was murdered. And neither one of them got justice. That's only 65 years apart. And you can just see that it's getting worse. And I feel like we need to come together and try to change it. And I really love advocating for Black people. Like, I do research all the time about what's going on in the world, about my history. So, like, this is a topic that I really love. And I could just learn about this for hours and talk about this for hours and do research and read books about it all the time. I'm currently taking a class at CCC about Black studies. And I'm reading this book, and it's just eye-opening to me that these things actually happen, and it's, like, still going on today.
Thank you for that, Giante.
Okay, are there any other students who would like to respond to that question? Why are you interested in this particular cohort in terms of careers in the criminal justice field? And the follow-up question is, what is it that you would like to gain from this program that focuses on careers in the criminal justice field? Are there any students on that would like to respond to that question?
Out of this program, I would like to gain, like, I feel like connections, because it's like once I graduate high school, and you know, like, hopefully if I do get accepted into this program, once I graduate high school, it's like I'll know, you know, I'll have the connection to like other schools and stuff like that, so that I can be able to start my career.
Are there any other students who would like to respond to either of the questions? Your interest in the in a career in the criminal justice field, which the focus of this cohort over the next 10 weeks would be to focus on the many different types of careers in the criminal justice field. But if there aren't any other respondents right now, I will pass it on to Sarah.
So originally when we planned this, we were anticipating a few more students. So I'm gonna like switch it up just a little bit so that, you know, when you leave here, you know something about us and maybe our office. And I feel like an important thing to start off with is for the students on the call, if you could let us know either by unmuting yourself or writing it in the chat, do you know what the district attorney's office does? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as a no. Thank you, Tia. So this is the way that our supervisor, she used to go out and talk to young people all the time. So this is stolen from her, but I feel like it's a really good explanation for what the district attorney's office does, or who we are, what you kind of should picture in your head. And I'm sure you've probably watched Law and Order or another crime drama at some point in time. on those shows, there's normally, like, if I'm talking about Law and Order in particular, you know, normally we've kind of got like our police officers who are, and our detectives who are our quarantine go-to, who are our main characters. And then we have the attorneys, who, one of whom represents the Commonwealth or the state. They're usually the attorney you see interacting with the police officer and the victim the most. And then you have the attorney that represents the defendant, so the person who's being accused of a crime. Our office, we're the prosecutor. So we're the people who are charging others with crimes. And we do that on behalf of the city and county of Philadelphia. So in that position, like Tina was saying, we come in contact with a lot of other roles. It's more than just us and the police and judges. As you heard some of us saying, like, I work in prevention. So I work in the same office as these attorneys do, two of whom are on the call, so they can tell you more about attorney life. No crime has been committed with, you know, the families that I'm working with. My job is actually to try and bring resources to families so that you know, you don't have to come in contact with the justice system. Fun fact, school attendance is an indicator of future contact with the justice system. So the more school you miss, the more likely you are to eventually enter the justice system in some capacity. So one of the things that our office, you know, has an interest in doing is preventing people from coming into the system. So if we can make sure you're more connected to your school, then we prevent you from having to come into our office in any other way. And then, you know, like I said, we have assistant district attorneys who are on the call. So that would be Morgan and Jordan. And they are those prosecutors who go to court, who represent the Commonwealth, who present evidence and make an argument. And then we have Faith, who also works in the sort of intervention space, is what I'm going to call it. Faith, please feel free to, you know, re-explain your role, where, you know, a crime of sorts has occurred, and, you know, we're looking into, you know, we don't want to have to send you away. So the youth system kind of works different than the adult system does. But we want to find a way to build you up so that when you leave us, you don't leave us worse. We want you to leave us better so you don't come back. And so there are other ways of holding people accountable for harmful acts than sending them away. And so that's what she works on. And then Tina does a little bit of everything. She has more of a social worker background. She's been in the justice system, actually working for the Defenders Association for 40 years. So that's an office that represents the adults accused of a crime, or adults and children, people accused of a crime. So they would be, you know, that other person in Law and Order. And then she moved over to our office when our current district attorney came into office. Excuse my husband. I'm kind of sitting in the middle of the kitchen. Yeah, so that's like a little bit of what our office actually does. But like I was saying, because of that, we come into contact with police officers, with health professionals, with social service professionals, with members of community organizations. And then there's even like a post side. So when people are leaving the system, and we're, you know, trying to help people re-enter society, you know, there are groups of people and organizations that we work with who serve those functions. So it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not just cops and lawyers and judges. There's a lot of cogs in the machine that is this organization, or that is the criminal justice system. And so that's something that we're really hoping to share with you all over these 10 weeks, is all the different ways that you can, you know, fight for a better criminal justice system. Yeah, if any of my other colleagues want to, you know, hop in and, you know, add something now, please do. Otherwise, I'll hand it off to Faith.
Thank you, Sarah.
I wanted to add something, but I'll wait until Faith finishes her piece.
So to elaborate on the explanation Sarah gave, a lot of what we want to do over the first 10 weeks with you all is to really get into the nuts and bolts of the legal system and how everything works together. And so we're going to build from one step all the way through. And so we're going to be talking about what is a law, where do laws come from, and then what happens when someone breaks or violates the law. And so we're going to look at it from a criminal justice perspective, and that's the adult system. So from arrest to pretrial to trial, what really happens and who is accountable for working within each segment as a case moves forward. And so we're going to get into some discussion about cases and what happens generally, and also what we would like to see happen. And we can't never forget to make a distinction between the juvenile system. So we're going to give you guys a lot of details about how the juvenile system is very different and the process in which young people are essentially held accountable. And as Sarah mentioned, my role is to help Jordan King as we divert cases out of court. And so that's the first step in the juvenile justice system, is we want to see whether or not we can divert a case out of court and introduce a young person to community-based programming and create some structure around them, give them some support figures, some therapy, and some extracurricular activities that could help to keep them on track. And if that is successful, then that means that they're going to move forward and never get in trouble again. But then we also have cases in which young people are going to have to face some very serious charges. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like, and even to the point of what happens when they have to go into placement or even detention. And so we're going to spend, quite some time talking about the justice system, but then we're also going to talk about what civil law is and the differences between criminal and civil. And so, for example, civil is something that could be business related, could be about property damage, it could be about contracts, could be mediation. Something is happening on the civil side that would not need to go into the justice system. Now, throughout the entire 10 weeks, we're going to, on top of talking to you and helping you through certain activities, and we're going to do some role playing and different things like that. You're also going to hear from individuals inside of our office and as well as our partners. So we're going to introduce you to individuals who work for the PD's office, that's the public defender, the courts, the medical examiner's office, the detention center, the sheriff's office, the police department. We're going to call on a number of individuals to talk to you and give you explanations about their career, the type of positions that they hold, and to help bring the content that we're going to teach you to life. And the very exciting part is that when we meet each other again in the spring, what we are hoping to do is to create what a justice system would look like, what an actual just system is going to look like. And so we're going to have you all, those of you who decide to participate, to pick a role and a career within the system. And we're going to challenge you to do research about your role and to be able to respond to certain prompts, certain situations. And we're really going to go through certain scenarios that will happen on an everyday basis. And like I said, each person is going to have a hat that they have to wear, and they're going to be responsible for representing their particular role. And so we're going to work together to solve some cases, work on some trials, talk about community justice and what it looks like to have justice outside the justice system and also within the justice system. Any questions about that from any students or administrators?
I don't know if there's going to be I know we're going to go into a separate time for questions, but I'm steady here taking notes. This is all really exciting. And so I'll hold my questions in case you're addressing them. But I think I have a lot of questions that some of our students may ask when they're watching this video. But this is all really great, particularly you talking about what a just system looks like. If I think about what Gianna shared with us and having students think through how do we make a system that does work in our favor, that does work for the disadvantaged, for Black and brown folks, like she said. And so, yeah, I'm just writing down my questions.
That is near and dear to us. We will be talking about even current things that are going on in our society, and we're going to have some challenging conversations, and we're going to talk about real life. And so the students going through our internship we're really going to want you to step up and talk about how you feel, what you're seeing. If it bothers you, we want to talk about it. We want you to share so that we can work through where do we go from here.
Okay, this is the comment that I wanted to make to the students, that because this is a career exploration program, and Faith just touched on this, we also want you to leave the cohort with better insight into the many different jobs and careers that exist in the criminal justice system, and what type of educational requirements there are to become employed in those many different roles. Some of the positions in the system certainly do require a college background, but we also recognize that that is not necessarily a goal for everyone who may still have an interest in working in the system in some way, but for whatever the reason may be, may not be interested in pursuing a college career. But there certainly are jobs in the criminal justice field at every level, whether it's support staff or there actually are community workers who work for anti-violence programs that don't require a college education. So we also will be sharing those specific details with you throughout the 10-week cohort.
Thank you, Ms. Tina. And I like the word you used in terms of career exploration. So to follow up on both what Ms. Tina and what Faith said, are there any specific things that you just heard that you want to explore? Any specific parts of our program that you want to explore specifically? And I guess that's a question for any students and for Ms. Hall as well.
I think that's a great question. One of the things that I asked, one of my questions, I'm going to answer your question with the question, Jordan, is, who is an ideal candidate for this internship opportunity? I always like to think about what students have expressed to me as their interest, and how can we tie what they're interested in into them exploring many, many options for them that will exist once they're done with high school. And so I know we have lots of students who have said to me, I want to be a lawyer. I shared before when we were on a call that we've gotten that a lot. I want to be a lawyer. I think that's one of those things when somebody asks a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's what comes to mind. But what I'm really very interested in is exactly what Ms. Tina shared with us. Let's look at all the careers. Let's look at the roles of everyone, because part of what I'm hearing today is all of these folks work hand in hand, and so I'm envisioning that as you're speaking, is that, how many people are working to support one youth? How many jobs does that take? And let's learn about all of those and what those individual roles are. I think that will help our students to really understand where they want to go and what those next steps are. And also the other part of that is having an understanding of what type of educational background am I going to need for each of these different careers. So if I'm a student who says, I want to be a lawyer, do I understand how long I need to go to school? You know, or am I just saying I want to be a lawyer because I want to help people? And can I help people in a role that only requires a bachelor's degree? I think that those are some of the things that our students will be able to learn by working with all of you.
I think it's a great question.
Absolutely. And can I just mention this is interesting. I appreciate what you said, Tia, at the start of your statement. For example, every Thursday, stakeholders in the juvenile justice system have a very large meeting. There's about 54 people who are invited to participate in that meeting. And almost every single person on that meeting, and it's specific to the Juvenile Justice Center that is out in West Philadelphia, and the focus is on that and the residents and some other aspects of what's happening in the juvenile justice system. 54 people, all who primarily have different jobs in the juvenile justice system. Wow. So that's just an example of there are many, many different roles, and I really appreciate what you said. How many people are supporting that one child? And there can be a large group involved with each and every individual child that comes through the system.
So I do actually have another question, if that's okay, if we can just jump and transition right into those questions. I was wondering if you could share a little bit, and anyone can do this or multiple people can do this, a little bit more about your background and what brought each of you to a career in criminal justice.
Well, I'd be happy to jump right in. My background is I graduated from Dobbins, and I thought I was going to be a secretary. I thought that was what I wanted to do. But I fortunately wound up attending Penn State University and State College, Pennsylvania for 4 years. That's the main campus of Penn State. And I, after changing my major about 3 times, landed in the criminal justice major. That is what my degree is in. Actually, it used to be called Law Enforcement and Corrections. I was not interested in becoming a state trooper or anything. I really didn't know what I was interested in doing, but for reasons that I won't share here because they don't make a lot of sense now, I chose a criminal justice major. I later went back to school and got a master's degree from St. Joe's University, which is also in criminal justice. But my position for 40 or so years at the public defender's office was as a social worker / social worker advocate. I've spent most of my career working with children who get arrested and also who become involved in the dependent court system, which in other words are involved with DHS, children who have been neglected and abused. And I did come to the district attorney's office last October after 45 years at the public defender's office, and am still primarily playing a social service support role there at the district attorney's office. And I love what I did, and I love what I'm doing now.
Excellent, thank you.
I can go. So I'm a band geek at heart. I really enjoyed playing music and teaching music, and I actually taught drumline at a school in West Philadelphia for 4 years throughout college. During my time there, one of my students just suddenly stopped coming to practice. He missed a couple of weeks, so I asked his friends, you know, have you heard from him? Where is he? They said that he got arrested because he was defending his mom and he pushed his stepdad down the stairs. And I felt sick immediately. I felt helpless. I felt after-school programs are such a necessary thing for some of our young people, especially our troubled young people who don't have many other places to go. So that summer, I decided to intern with the public defender's office in my hometown just to see if I could do anything to help on that end. I eventually went to law school where I also did child welfare work, working with young people who are abused, abandoned, and neglected. And I wanted to do juvenile policy work, actually. And in a roundabout turn of events, I ended up here in this office. And I love what I do now. As Faith said, we work together to do our best to divert or to take young people's cases who are in court and move them to community-based programming. And it's the greatest job in the world. So I'm very grateful to work with young people.
Oh, wow. I'm just looking over my other questions here. I just really thought, you know, and hearing those stories are so great. I love the idea that, you know, Ms. Tina, you're sharing that you're a Dobbins graduate, you know, and that our students can see themselves as graduates of Vox or El Centro. Because sometimes that's tough to think that, oh, I'm just a kid from a Philly public school. How am I going to be able to be in a position like this? And I love, Jordan, hearing your story about how your student inspired you to engage and really pursue this career and even the path of law. So many of our students who are interested in law or advocacy of any kind or social work is because they themselves have benefited from those supports or they've been wronged by them. That's the other side of it, right? And so they want to make things right. They want to figure out a future where they can make things right. And so thank you so much for sharing all of those stories, sharing those stories.
Can I just mention one other thing? I just want to give them, the students that are on, another example. There's a young lady who's a member of the support staff in the juvenile unit. Her name is Yaz. And a call went out from Jordan and Faith unit, which is the diversion unit, asking for volunteers to work in one of the diversion programs that we partner with, students run Philly style. And yeah, she's considered a trial clerk. And so basically she's somebody who is a high school graduate who, not to my knowledge, hasn't attended college yet, and still she's still supporting the attorneys that are in court on a regular basis. But in addition, she's elected to volunteer to help in the program, Student Run Philly Style, in the unit that Jordan, in the diversion unit with Jordan and Faith. So again, my focus and my emphasis to the young people is that there are many ways that you can work in this field, and it doesn't solely have to be because you graduated from college or from law school, even though we, you know, certainly would encourage you if you have that interest to do so. But there are many, many ways to participate in the field and in your community without having to have that post-high school education.
Any other thoughts or any other points before we just move on to next steps? Okay.
Well, I mean, did you want the rest of us to share our backgrounds, or?
Sure, I would love to.
I saw Faith unmute there, and so I was waiting.
Please do, please do. I would love
Faith
that.
is also a Philly native, right?
Yes, I am. So I graduated from Central High School, and Central is public school. I went to public middle school, I went to public high school, and I also was fortunate enough to go to Penn State University main campus. I went with an interest in criminal justice, but also social work, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And so I dibbled and dabbled in everything from criminal justice to forensics to sociology. I took classes and did a lot of different things. And it wasn't until it came down to the wire, to what I needed to choose. And I thought I wanted to go to law school, but it just seemed really intimidating at the time as a junior, not really sure. And so I decided to finish out my degree in criminal justice and go into the workforce to see what I really wanted to do. And so I did an internship at the DA's office. And that's what sparked my interest on actually having a career here. And I started off as a victim service advocate, working directly with victims of crime and in the juvenile unit. And I started to fall in love with the work of diversion. And so I spent 9 years now in the juvenile unit, and had moved through various positions to work my way to the program management for diversion. But the whole time, I always had an eye to help and to be a servant. And so that motivated me to not only do work here in the office, but to also volunteer outside the office and work with young people, go to career days, and just be in tune with what's going on and help. So to Ms. Tina's point, you're always going to be able to assist and help if you're in the criminal justice system. And even if you're outside the system, we're always looking for people to volunteer, to work with young people, to be a part of initiatives, even on the adult side. So it is a community-based effort. That's how we look at it. And so we are, as individuals, we promote that same mentality that we want the community to do as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'll go really quickly. I'm a Philly transplant. So I'm originally from Massachusetts and came out here for undergrad. I think I'm still trying to figure out how I got to, like where this feeling of wanting to help people came from. Today, I'm going to say it came from my family. I grew up in a family where advocating for yourself was a must. I don't consider myself very good at it, but I definitely had lots of examples of, like if there was a problem, someone was getting a phone call, a letter was being written, someone was getting a knock on the door, like something was going to be done. And then just serving others was a really big value in my family as well. And then sometimes I think it was, I wanted to help people because I had experienced unfairness. I wanted to make sure that nobody else had to do that. So I ended up becoming a teacher after college for 2 years. I was a middle school language arts teacher. Left teaching because I was like, somebody is writing laws out there that is making it really hard for kids to get the education they deserve, particularly Black children, Black and brown children. And I want to do something about that. And who are these people who are passing these laws? Well, a lot of them seem to be lawyers. So let's see if I'm interested in that. So I got a job as a legal assistant at a private law firm in King of Prussia, and I did that for 3 years. And it was not exciting work, but I learned a lot about my skills. Definitely, like, there's things that I did there that I still like carry around with me and that like make me a better professional now. But at the end of that, I was like, I miss helping people. So I ended up getting it's called a fellowship, but it's kind of like an internship at a education law firm in Boston for a summer, and ended up working on, I was doing research on whether out-of-school suspensions are effective. The answer is they are not for the Boston public schools. And when I finished that, I was like, I kind of want to continue this whole education, legal research thing. And I applied for a job at the district attorney's office, not for the role I have now, just to be a general paralegal. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in an interview and they're asking me, so what do you know about truancy? And I think like the education background on my resume was kind of what like got me to this position. And I didn't even know a position like this existed. I wouldn't have thought to ask about it. And then, so here I am today. I really love my job. This is probably tied for teaching experience with my favorite job. I love what I do every day. There's a lot of variety in it. And the only other thing that I really want to add is I do have a bachelor's degree, but I don't think you would need one to do my job. I feel like with the right mindset and the right experience, you could do this job. And if somebody wanted to work with me who didn't have a college degree, but they met all the other boxes, then I would certainly fight for you to get this role. Because I feel like one of the biggest things is you just have to be willing to listen to other people and really hear them. And then the other thing I do is I go to law school at night. So I work full time, go to school part time. So one day I will switch careers again, most likely, and probably head in the legislation policy direction, and maybe get to writing laws of some sort.
Thank you. I just we're winding down on our time, and I do want to end on time today. So I'm just going to go over some next steps. So I'm going to share my screen again, go over a few next steps. Okay, for any students who have been on the call or they're watching the call afterwards, I want to make sure you're clear on what you need to do so that you can apply. The first thing I'll say is that the application deadline is October 1st. And so we know that that is right around the corner. So you are almost out of time, but not out of time quite yet. What you will need to do if you you're listening to the call, you should have listened to this entire video recording today. Before applying, you're going to update your resume. You're going to create a cover letter if you don't already have one. You can use your passion essay or ask one of your advisors for a cover letter template that you can use. You will complete an online application. The online application will have you upload your resume and your cover letter to the application. You will be asked to pick your top 3 choices. And so you're going to select criminal justice as one of your choices for internship if you feel like after listening to this video today that this is going to be a great fit for you. And again, submit by the application deadline is on October 1st. Make sure to check your email. You will hear back from us. Program will begin on October the 8th. So it is a quick turnaround. We will get back to you with your placement really quickly. But I will say the spaces are limited. So it is important that you get your application in as soon as possible. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me if you are at Vaux Big Picture High School. My email address is right here on the slide. Or you can reach out to Nina if you are at El Centro, and either one of us will answer your questions. If you have questions that we can't answer, we'll make sure that we get it to our mentors and get those questions answered for you. So I do want to thank you all for your time today. Thank you all for taking the time to be on this call with me this afternoon. I really appreciate it so very much. I know our students will appreciate it. I know you planned a whole nother program and we didn't have as many students on the call, but trust me, they're going to be watching and they're going to be applying. So we are very eager to get started and start working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.